Ethan's hands shook as he gripped the console. The space station around him groaned under the stress of the dying star. Lights flickered, alarms screamed, and debris floated past the shattered windows. The colony he had grown up on, the place he had called home, was falling apart. Every day the star had grown weaker, but no one had truly believed it would reach this point. And now, in the chaos of evacuation, Ethan's only thought was survival. Escape pods were launching in waves, people scrambling to get aboard. He could hear the cries of civilians, the shouted instructions from officers trying to keep order, and the distant, horrifying roar of metal twisting and breaking. He ran down the corridor toward the nearest pod bay, his boots clanging against the metal floor, each step heavy with panic and fear. The pod bay was a mess. People were pushing and shoving, some desperately trying to carry luggage, some trying to carry children. Ethan's own heart raced, and he knew there was only one pod left, one chance to get away from this dying station. He reached the pod, slammed his hand on the console to open it, and froze. A small figure stood in the doorway. She was unlike anyone he had ever seen. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, pale green with delicate patterns that seemed almost alive. Her large eyes, dark and curious, were fixed on him. She was small, barely taller than a child, but there was a fire in her gaze, a determination that made Ethan hesitate. "I need it," she said in a soft voice, not human but clear enough for him to understand. Ethan blinked. He should have pushed past her. He should have slammed the pod shut and ignored her, gone on his way. Survival was everything now. But something about her, something in her eyes, stopped him. There was desperation there, yes, but also a trust, a hope that he couldn't ignore. He swallowed hard. "This pod, it's the only one left," he said, his voice rough. "I need to get out, too." He glanced at the other escape pods, at the chaos around him, at the station crumbling inch by inch. Every instinct screamed at him to save himself, and yet he opened the pod hatch. "Go," he said. "Take it. Get out of here." She stepped forward, climbing into the pod. Ethan slammed the hatch shut behind her and watched as the pod launched, shooting into space with a flash of light. Alone, he leaned against the wall, chest heaving. He had survived barely in the chaos of the station's destruction, but he couldn't stop the pang of guilt that stabbed at him. That small alien girl, he had no idea where she would go, if she would survive. And somehow, somewhere, he knew he would carry this moment with him for the rest of his life. The emergency escape system wasn't working well. Ethan found another small pod, barely large enough for one person, and climbed in. The controls were damaged, and it took all his skill and calm to stabilize the pod before launching. The station's explosions echoed behind him, massive chunks of debris floating away into the void. The light from the dying star painted everything in reds and oranges, the chaos almost beautiful in its destruction. He drifted in space for hours, unsure where he was heading. His mind replayed the moment he let her take the seat. Every decision, every hesitation weighed heavily on him. Was he foolish? Was he kind? Or was it simply instinct? He couldn't answer. But he knew one thing: she had survived because of him, and that knowledge filled him with a strange, uncomfortable pride. Days passed. Ethan's pod finally reached a human outpost. The station welcomed survivors with medical care and food rations. Officers asked questions, debriefed, and recorded testimonies. Ethan gave his account of the evacuation, careful to keep his focus on the destruction, the star, the chaos. He didn't mention the alien girl, not yet. Still, he couldn't stop thinking about her. Every night, as he lay in the small cot provided for him, he imagined her out there in the galaxy, alone, surviving. He pictured her climbing aboard his pod, her eyes wide and frightened, trusting him completely. He could still see the shimmer of her skin, the small hand pressed against the console. Weeks later, life returned to a fragile routine. Ethan trained with other pilots, repaired his skills, and prepared for missions to help other human colonies in danger. He became known for his daring maneuvers and his calm under pressure. But no matter how far he went, no matter how many missions he completed, he couldn't shake the memory of that one small life he had saved, or the guilt that came with leaving the station behind. One quiet evening, months after the evacuation, he sat alone in a training bay, staring out at the stars. The void of space stretched endlessly, beautiful and terrifying, and somewhere out there, he thought, she might be looking at the same stars. He didn't know her name, didn't know her species, didn't even know if she was alive, but a part of him hoped. Years passed. Humanity rebuilt, colonies expanded, and Ethan continued his work as a pilot and rescuer. He became a hero to some, a legend to others. Still, he never forgot the small alien girl, and then the rumors began. reports of a young alien diplomat traveling through human sectors, making alliances, mediating disputes. A brilliant mind, a shrewd leader. Ethan's curiosity was piqued. Could it be her? He dismissed the thought at first. How could it be? She was just a child when he saw her, barely able to survive. Now, years later, she could be anything. The message came unexpectedly. A holographic screen activated in his quarters, displaying a seal he didn't recognize. It was elegant, flowing, not human. He hesitated before pressing the accept button. A figure appeared in the projection. She was taller now, regal and confident. Her eyes were the same wide, curious eyes he remembered. The skin still shimmered, though in a more refined pattern, marking her as a leader in her species. "Ethan," she said. Her voice was calm, deliberate. "Do you remember me?" "Yes, I remember. I need your help, and perhaps you need mine as well." She had trusted him once, and now, somehow, he trusted her. "I'll help," he said finally. His voice was firm, steady. "Whatever you need, I'll do my best." The galaxy, shaped by a single choice. He remembered the chaos, the screams, the flashing lights of the dying station, and then the quiet determination in her eyes. Somehow, his small act of letting her take the pod had led to something far greater than he had imagined. The stars outside shimmered as the station of his youth disappeared in memory, replaced by the vast, infinite possibilities of space. He didn't know what awaited him, but for the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. The girl he had saved so long ago had returned, not as a child, but as a leader. And now they would face the galaxy together. Ethan exhaled slowly, a smile touching his lips. The stars were endless, the future uncertain, but he was ready. Whatever came next, he would not run. And somewhere deep in the void of space, a small flicker of light, once a desperate child in an escape pod, moved confidently through the stars, ready to face whatever the universe could throw at them. Ethan leaned forward, gripping the edge of his chair. "Let's see what happens," he murmured, and for the first time in a long time, he believed that even the smallest acts of courage could echo across the galaxy. Years had passed since Ethan let the alien girl take his escape pod. The memory never left him, though life forced him to push it aside. Space had a way of moving quickly, of giving people no time to dwell on the past. Ethan had survived. That was what mattered. And yet, somewhere deep in his chest, a quiet part of him wondered about her, the small, green-skinned girl who had climbed into the pod he had given her. The galaxy had changed since the evacuation. Humans had rebuilt the colonies, repaired the damaged stations, and cautiously expanded into nearby systems. Ethan had become a skilled pilot, respected for his daring missions and his ability to navigate disaster zones. Every fleet he joined seemed to test him in new ways, yet each time, he returned with his skills sharpened and his reputation growing. He had become someone others relied upon, a calm hand in the chaos of space. Even with all the accolades, the memory of that day on the dying colony haunted him. He had often wondered if she had survived, if she had found safety, if she had even remembered him. It was an unanswerable question, yet it stayed with him like a quiet echo in the back of his mind. Ethan's routine had grown predictable. He flew missions, trained younger pilots, and spent nights staring at the stars from his quarters. Each star, each flicker of light in the void, reminded him of the moment he had let her escape. And then the rumors started. They were small at first. Whispers among diplomats and traders of a young alien diplomat who traveled between human colonies. She was clever, shrewd, and unusually confident for her age. She mediated disputes, resolved conflicts, and made unexpected alliances. Ethan didn't think much of it at first. It could have been anyone. There were many aliens in the galaxy, and he had never even known her species' name. But the stories kept coming. More colonies reported seeing her. More fleets mentioned her presence. There was something familiar in the way she handled negotiations, in the quiet confidence that seemed to radiate from her. And then the message came. Ethan had just returned from a mission to deliver supplies to a remote outpost when a holographic screen activated in his quarters. The seal was elegant and alien, unlike any human insignia he had seen. He hesitated, hand hovering over the accept button. His heart raced. Could it really be her? The projection flickered to life, revealing a figure standing in the middle of a large chamber. She was taller now, her posture confident and commanding. Her skin shimmered softly, patterned in the same delicate designs he remembered from years ago. Her eyes, those wide, dark, curious eyes, locked onto his through the screen. "Ethan," she said. Her voice was calm, deliberate, yet there was warmth in it. "Do you remember me? You survived. There are matters that concern both of our species. matters that could change the future of the galaxy. The weeks that followed were filled with preparation. Ethan was assigned to a diplomatic mission, tasked with meeting the alien diplomat in a neutral sector. The fleet's officers were cautious. Humans were still wary of unknown alien powers, and the sudden appearance of this diplomat sparked questions. Yet Ethan felt a strange sense of destiny. He had been given a chance to reconnect, to witness firsthand the impact of his choice years ago. The neutral station was massive, orbiting a small, uninhabited planet. Its architecture was unlike anything human designers had built, elegant, flowing structures that seemed to hover effortlessly in space, powered by technology both advanced and subtle. Ethan stepped off the transport shuttle, his boots clicking against the smooth metal floors, eyes scanning for her. She was there waiting as if she had known exactly when he would arrive. Taller than he expected, her presence commanded attention without a word. She moved with grace, each step purposeful. When she finally spoke, her voice carried across the chamber with clarity. "Ethan," she said, her eyes locking onto his, "I have watched the galaxy change. I have seen your people survive and grow, and now I need your help. But I'll find out with you." And a new threat, one that neither species could face alone, was beginning to emerge from the depths of space. Ethan listened, absorbing the details. She spoke of fleets moving in secret, of colonies at risk, of technologies that could change the balance of power. Every word painted a picture of a galaxy that was fragile, delicate, and in need of collaboration. And he realized something profound. The small act of letting her escape all those years ago had not only saved her life, it had preserved a chance for cooperation between humans and aliens, a chance to prevent catastrophe. They spent days together, planning and strategizing. Ethan shared his knowledge of human tactics, emergency response, and fleet coordination. She offered insights into her species, technology, diplomacy, and intelligence networks. The synergy was remarkable. Ethan felt the spark of excitement he had once felt as a young pilot, the rush of working under impossible circumstances, only now the stakes were far higher. During a quiet moment, they stepped onto an observation deck, looking out at the stars stretching endlessly before them. Ethan's mind wandered back to that day on the dying colony, the chaos, the fear, the small hand that had trusted him completely. "You've changed," he said softly. "So have you," she replied. "But some things remain the same. You still act with courage even when the odds are against you. You still choose to do what is right, not just what is easy. I let you take that seat. I wasn't sure it was the right choice at the time." Training exercises, tactical meetings, and simulations kept Ethan busy, but he never lost sight of the bigger picture. He and the alien diplomat formed a bond of trust, a partnership forged through shared experience and mutual respect. And all the while, he could see the subtle ways humanity's strengths, resourcefulness, empathy, ingenuity, interacted with her species, abilities, strategic thinking, advanced technology, and foresight. Ethan realized that this partnership was more than just a reunion. It was the embodiment of what humans could achieve, what humanity could offer the galaxy: courage, resilience, and the willingness to act with integrity even in the most uncertain moments. Finally, the day came when they were ready to move. Intelligence had confirmed that the threat she had warned about was real. A fleet of mercenaries, unknown in origin but heavily armed, was gathering near a neutral sector. Their purpose was unclear, but their presence alone posed a danger to colonies of both species. Ethan stood on the bridge of the human ally ship, glancing at her as she reviewed strategic data. Her focus, her calm confidence, reminded him of the small girl he had once let escape. And yet she was so much more now, strong, wise, and determined. "We move at dawn," she said, her voice quiet but firm. "We cannot afford mistakes. Our people depend on us." But he also knew that he would not face it alone. The girl from the escape pod, once small and desperate, had returned as a leader. And together they would confront the galaxy's dangers, blending human courage and alien ingenuity in a way that might just save both their species. As he prepared for the mission, Ethan allowed himself a small thought, a quiet hope. Perhaps the galaxy had a way of rewarding acts of kindness, of turning moments of uncertainty into opportunities for greatness. And perhaps, just perhaps, the girl he had saved all those years ago had returned not only for herself, but for him as well. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The future was uncertain, the challenges immense, and the risks unimaginable. But for the first time in years, Ethan felt ready, not just to survive, but to act, to lead, and to make a difference that could echo across the stars. The galaxy awaited, and he was prepared to meet it head-on, side by side with the one who had once trusted him with her life. Ethan stepped off the transport shuttle onto the neutral station's main landing platform. The hum of the docking engines and the soft chatter of travelers filled the air. The station was enormous, a hub of diplomacy and commerce floating above a lifeless planet below. Its towers stretched like silver spires into the void, each one connected by glowing corridors of light. It was impressive, unlike anything Ethan had seen before, but his attention was focused entirely on the figure waiting near the observation deck. She stood there, tall and poised, her presence commanding yet graceful. Her skin shimmered softly under the station lights, the same patterns he remembered from years ago, now more refined, marking her status as a leader of her species. The alien diplomat, the girl from the escape pod, the one who had survived because of him, Lyra. When she saw him, her face broke into a faint smile. "Ethan," she said, voice steady but warm. "You've grown. But you," she looked at him intently, "you have proven that courage and kindness can carry a person further than power alone." The girl he had let escape now stood before him as a leader, and she credited him in part for who she had become. They walked together through the station, moving through bustling corridors filled with alien species of every shape and size. Humans, aliens, hybrids, traders, soldiers, diplomats, all going about their business in the grand neutral hub. It was a delicate balance, a place where one wrong move could spark conflict, and yet it felt alive, vibrant, full of potential. "I need to understand what's happening," Ethan said. "Why did you ask to meet me now after all these years?" "There is a threat rising, one that could endanger not just my people, but yours as well. I cannot face it alone, and I need someone I trust. I thought of you. You saved a life when it would have been easier to save your own. You faced impossible odds and acted with integrity. Humanity has a certain resilience, a certain ingenuity that even I admire. That is why I asked for you. But even small choices can ripple through time, and sometimes they shape destinies. Yours shaped mine, Ethan, and now perhaps it can shape the future of more than just one life." "Do you see this?" she asked. "Every star, every world holds lives that could be affected by what is coming. I cannot explain all the details yet, but trust me when I say we are at a turning point." It wasn't just about survival. It was about choices, alliances, and the fate of entire species. "What do you need me to do?" he asked finally. She turned to face him fully, her expression serious. "I need your experience, your understanding of human behavior, your tactical skills. There are fleets moving in secret, mercenaries whose motives we cannot yet discern, and colonies at risk. I can coordinate the intelligence and diplomacy, but your insight into human capabilities and strategies will be crucial. Follow me." A fleet of mercenaries is gathering near the neutral sectors. Their origin is unknown, but they are well-equipped, highly trained, and moving strategically. They have attacked colonies in the past and could strike again anywhere. We cannot wait for them to act. We must anticipate and counter them. Do we have any intel on their leaders? He imagined fleet formations, escape routes, and potential countermeasures. He realized that his years of piloting and emergency response had prepared him for this. The survival instincts honed through countless disasters were suddenly invaluable. "You see, Ethan," Lyra said, "this is where your experience becomes crucial. Humans think differently from my people. You anticipate unpredictability, adapt quickly, and improvise solutions. That is exactly what we need now." The collaboration was seamless, each idea complementing the other. During a break, Ethan glanced at her, noticing the subtle lines of fatigue around her eyes. "How have you managed all this?" he asked. "Leading your people, dealing with diplomacy, and now this threat." "And now I trust others in turn. Leadership is not about doing everything alone. It's about knowing when to rely on allies and when to take responsibility yourself. I could not have done this without people like you." He had never thought of his small act of kindness as anything monumental, yet here it was, years later, influencing strategies, shaping alliances, and perhaps even saving lives. The next few days were filled with briefings, simulations, and diplomatic negotiations. Ethan saw firsthand the respect she commanded among her people and other species. She was firm but fair, decisive but considerate, and her reputation seemed to precede her everywhere. Yet, despite her authority, there was a humility in her interactions with him, an acknowledgement of the bond they had shared since that escape pod. One evening, after a particularly long session of planning, Ethan and Lyra stepped onto the observation deck again. The stars stretched endlessly, but this time he noticed something different. It wasn't just the beauty or the vastness, it was the feeling of potential, of possibility. He realized that their efforts, their cooperation, could shape the future. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about creating a galaxy where choices mattered, where courage and intelligence could make a real difference. "You've grown into someone remarkable," Ethan said quietly. "I can see why they trust you, why they follow you. The galaxy needs people like us to work together, to act when the odds seem impossible." He realized that the moment he had let her escape years ago was not just a chance act. It had created a connection, a partnership that might influence the course of history. As the first light of the distant sun touched the observation deck, casting a gentle glow across the floor, Ethan knew that their next move would be critical. The fleets of unknown mercenaries were out there, waiting, observing, and planning. Every decision they made in the coming hours could save or doom countless lives. And yet, standing beside Lyra, he felt ready. The girl who had once trusted him with her life had returned as a leader, and now he would trust her with his. Together they would face the challenges ahead, blending human resilience with alien wisdom, courage with strategy, and hope with action. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and dangerous. But for the first time in years, Ethan felt that humanity had a chance, not just to survive, but to shape the future. And with Lyra by his side, he knew that even the most impossible odds could be overcome. As they prepared for the first steps of their plan, Ethan allowed himself a small, quiet thought. Perhaps the galaxy was not just a place of danger and chaos. It was a place of opportunity, of connection, and of lasting impact. And perhaps, just perhaps, a single act of kindness, made years ago in a small escape pod, could echo across the stars in ways he had never imagined. Ethan tightened his grip on the console, feeling the hum of the station beneath his hands. He was ready. Lyra was ready, and together they would meet whatever the galaxy had in store. The hum of the station was steady, almost comforting, as Ethan and Lyra prepared for the operation. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, but between the twinkling lights lay danger. A fleet of unknown mercenaries gathering near the neutral sector. Intelligence reports were incomplete, communications patchy, and every detail suggested caution. But there was no time for hesitation. Ethan studied the tactical display, his fingers tracing the paths of friendly and enemy fleets alike. "We're outnumbered," he said quietly, almost to himself. "But that doesn't mean we can't win." It is observation, courage, ingenuity, and improvisation. They are traits you do not teach. You learn them through experience, and you, Ethan, have more experience than anyone I know. Lyra's species had advanced detection technology, allowing them to track fleet movements with surprising accuracy, while Ethan's understanding of human piloting and tactics helped them anticipate potential traps. Together, they built a plan that was bold, dangerous, but not impossible. By the time Ethan retired to his quarters, the weight of the coming battle pressed heavily on him. He stared out at the void, remembering all the times he had survived against impossible odds. Yet this felt different. The stakes were no longer personal survival. They were the lives of entire colonies, both human and alien, dependent on the choices he and Lyra made in the next hours. Morning came, or what passed for morning on a station orbiting a dead planet. Ethan reported to the command deck, greeted by a flurry of activity as fleets prepared to move. Pilots checked weapons, engines hummed to life, and Lyra coordinated final intelligence updates with her officers. She was calm, collected, but Ethan could see the intensity in her eyes, the same intensity he had seen when she was a small child fighting to survive. "We move in synchronized waves," she explained to the human fleet commanders. "Our goal is to neutralize the mercenary threat while minimizing casualties. We will divide their forces, isolate command ships, and force them into a defensive position." He had faced overwhelming odds before, but this operation required coordination on a scale he had never experienced. Every decision mattered. Every mistake could be catastrophic. As the fleet moved into position, Ethan piloted his fighter near the front lines, scanning for enemy movement. Sensors detected multiple small craft approaching, followed by larger ships, heavily armed and armored. The mercenary fleet was better equipped than expected, but their formations were rigid, predictable in ways a human mind could exploit. "Here they come," Ethan muttered, gripping the controls. "Let's see if adaptability beats numbers." He executed evasive maneuvers with precision, dodging attacks while coordinating counterfire with nearby allied fighters. The human pilots responded quickly, their unpredictability complementing the disciplined movements of Lyra's forces. Lyra's command vessel hovered above the fray, coordinating the battle with her officers. Her species' advanced targeting systems allowed them to anticipate mercenary movements, while Ethan's human insight provided creative solutions when the unexpected occurred. Together, they turned the initial assault into a calculated counterattack. Ethan's fighter streaked through the battlefield, dodging fire, disabling enemy ships, and relaying positions to the larger fleet. He felt the rush of adrenaline he had always known in combat, but now it was tempered with a sense of responsibility. Every maneuver, every choice had consequences beyond himself. One of the mercenary command ships broke formation, attempting to flank the Allied fleet. Ethan noticed it immediately. "Lyra, the ship on Sector 7, flanking left," he reported over comms. "Understood," she replied. "Human Squadron Alpha intercept. Others, maintain positions and hold fire until instructed." With a combination of calculated risk and quick reflexes, he disabled their engines and forced them into retreat. The battle raged for hours. Enemy waves came in succession, each one testing the limits of human and alien coordination. Ethan felt exhaustion creep in, but he pushed it aside. He was part of something larger now, something that demanded focus, resilience, and creativity. During a brief lull, Ethan took a moment to check on Lyra. She was on the bridge of her command ship, reviewing the fleet's status, issuing orders, and maintaining calm in the chaos. Despite the pressure, she was composed, her confidence unwavering. He realized that the girl who had trusted him in an escape pod had grown into a leader capable of commanding entire fleets, yet she still relied on the human strength she had once praised: ingenuity, courage, and adaptability. The mercenary fleet regrouped for a second attack. This time, they targeted the outer colonies directly, hoping to draw the Allied forces away from the main battle. Ethan's eyes narrowed. "They're trying to divide us," he said into comms. "We can't let them reach the colonies." He coordinated his squadron with precision, intercepting enemy waves and guiding them away from vulnerable colonies. The human pilots, flexibility and quick thinking combined with Lyra's strategic oversight created a powerful counterbalance to the mercenaries' brute force. One particularly large enemy ship broke through the defenses, heading directly for a populated colony. Ethan assessed the situation quickly. He could attempt a direct attack, but the risk of collateral damage was high. Instead, he devised a plan to force the ship off course using environmental hazards, asteroid fields, debris from destroyed ships, and gravitational pulls from nearby celestial bodies. "Follow my lead," he ordered his squadron. "Use the terrain. Force them to make mistakes." As the battle continued, Ethan noticed a pattern in the enemy fleet's movements, a command structure, a rhythm that could be exploited. He relayed the observations to Lyra, who adjusted her fleet's formations accordingly. With precise timing, they launched a coordinated strike on the enemy command ships, disabling them and causing confusion throughout the mercenary ranks. The tide of the battle shifted. Enemy ships began retreating, disorganized and leaderless. Allied forces pressed forward, securing victory. Ethan felt a surge of pride, not in personal glory, but in the combined effort, in the partnership that had turned the impossible into achievable. When the battle finally ended, the fleets regrouped. Damage assessments showed significant losses on both sides, but the colonies were safe, and the mercenary threat had been neutralized for now. Ethan leaned back in his seat, breathing heavily, the hum of the ship's systems a comforting reminder that the immediate danger was over. Lyra approached him on the command deck. "You did well," she said quietly. "Your actions saved lives. Not just human lives, but many of mine as well." The memory of the escape pod years ago resurfaced, the small hand, the trust, the chance he had given her. And now here she was, acknowledging that his humanity, the very qualities that had seemed ordinary at the time, had shaped the outcome of the battle. "We make a good team," he said finally. "Yes," she agreed, "and there will be more challenges ahead. The galaxy is vast, and threats are never-ending. But today, we have shown what can be achieved when humans and my species work together." And for the first time, Ethan understood fully the weight of his partnership with Lyra, the impact of choices, the importance of trust, and the power of human ingenuity in shaping outcomes that no one could predict. As the fleet repaired and reorganized, Ethan took a moment to look out at the stars. The void was calm now, peaceful in its silence, but he knew it was temporary. More threats would emerge, more battles would come. Yet he also knew something else. With Lyra at his side, with humans and aliens working together, there was hope. There was a chance to influence the galaxy, to protect lives, and to ensure that courage, intelligence, and kindness could prevail. And in that moment, Ethan understood something profound. The girl he had saved in the escape pod had returned, not just for herself, but for him as well. Together, they were stronger than the sum of their parts, and together they could face whatever the galaxy had in store. Ethan allowed himself a small, quiet smile. The stars stretched endlessly before him, and for the first time in years, he felt truly ready for what was coming. The battle had been won, but the journey was far from over. And with Lyra by his side, he knew that humanity could rise to meet even the greatest challenges the galaxy could offer. The battle had ended, but the galaxy was far from quiet. Reports of mercenary activity had slowed, but intelligence indicated a larger force lurking beyond the outer systems, organized, patient, and far more dangerous than any they had faced. Ethan and Lyra knew that their victory, though important, was only the beginning. The neutral station buzzed with activity as leaders of multiple species arrived to assess the situation. Humans, aliens, and diplomats from other neutral colonies crowded the halls, debating strategy, sharing intelligence, and preparing for a council meeting that could change the balance of power in the sector. Ethan stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars stretching endlessly beyond the station. His mind drifted to the first day he had let Lyra take the escape pod seat. He had acted on instinct, unsure, hesitant, but he had chosen kindness over self-preservation. That small decision had rippled through time, leading to this moment. He smiled faintly, marveling at the unexpected consequences of a single choice. Lyra joined him quietly, her presence calm but commanding. "Are you ready for the council?" she asked. Ethan turned to her. "I think so. But I have to admit, this is bigger than anything I've faced before." He had learned over the years that humans were often underestimated by alien species, but that underestimation could be a strength. Humans adapted, improvised, and persevered, and that was exactly what the galaxy needed now. The council chamber was vast, filled with representatives from dozens of species. Holographic displays floated above the central table, showing fleet movements, system maps, and intelligence reports. Lyra stood at the head, introducing Ethan to the assembled leaders. "This is Ethan," she said. "He has proven his capabilities in combat and strategy. His insights represent the strength and ingenuity of humanity." He was just one human, but he knew that humans had a history of turning disadvantage into opportunity. He would need to demonstrate that today, not with force, but with intelligence, strategy, and courage. The council debated fiercely. Some species were wary of humans, recalling past conflicts and misunderstandings. Others were skeptical of the mercenary threat, dismissing it as a localized issue. Ethan listened carefully, noting patterns, anticipating objections, and preparing responses. When the discussion turned to fleet coordination, Ethan spoke. His voice was calm, deliberate. "The mercenaries we faced were organized, disciplined, and adaptable. Their actions suggest they are scouts for a larger force. If we underestimate them, we risk colonies and lives. Humans have experience surviving against impossible odds. We can coordinate our fleets to anticipate enemy moves, protect vulnerable systems, and respond quickly to unexpected threats. Ethan's strategies have proven effective. We have the advantage of combining human ingenuity with our technological capabilities. This alliance, if we embrace it, can protect countless lives and stabilize this sector." Ethan and Lyra answered questions, provided simulations, and presented data from the recent battle. Gradually, skepticism gave way to cautious agreement. By the end of the session, the council voted to authorize a formal alliance between humans and Lyra's species, with coordinated fleets and shared intelligence. Ethan allowed himself a deep breath. This was a major victory, not a battle of ships, but a victory of cooperation, trust, and diplomacy. The galaxy, unpredictable and vast, had shifted slightly in their favor. After the council, Ethan and Lyra walked through the observation deck, overlooking the docking bays filled with ships from multiple species. "I can't believe how far we've come," Ethan said softly. "From an escape pod on a dying station to this, a galaxy-wide alliance. I did it because it was the right thing to do. You acted with integrity, and now your actions have shaped the future." Together, they developed a network that could respond to threats far faster than any single species could manage alone. In quiet moments, Ethan reflected on the journey. He remembered the chaos of the dying station, the fear, the moment of hesitation, and then the decision to let Lyra take the pod. That choice had led to survival, leadership, and a partnership that could influence the galaxy itself. He realized that heroism was not always about grand gestures or spectacular victories. It was often about the small acts, the moments of courage that set everything else in motion. One evening, as the station rotated slowly around the lifeless planet below, Ethan and Lyra stood at the observation deck again. The stars stretched endlessly, silent and beautiful. "You know," Ethan said, "I never expected to see you again after that day. It has a way of bringing people together when the timing is right. You've always understood that courage is not just about survival. It's about responsibility, foresight, and empathy. That is why I sought you out. That is why humanity is essential in what comes next." They had faced danger, uncertainty, and impossible odds before. They had survived, and now they were shaping a future together. Days later, a quiet celebration took place in the station's central hall. Humans, aliens, and allies gathered to acknowledge the newly formed interstellar coalition. Ethan stood with Lyra, observing the ceremony. Leaders spoke of cooperation, courage, and trust. The recent battle was remembered not as a victory of firepower, but as a triumph of partnership, intelligence, and collaboration. During the celebration, Lyra approached Ethan privately. She handed him a small token, a crystalline pendant that shimmered with a soft light, a gift from her people. "This is for you," she said. "A reminder that even small acts can have enormous consequences. Your choice shaped more than my life. It shaped the future of many. Courage and kindness will always leave their mark, even in ways we cannot foresee. There would always be threats, unpredictable events, and battles to fight. But they also knew something more important. Together, humans and her species could face the galaxy, protect lives, and influence the future." Ethan thought back to that moment years ago, the chaos of the dying station, and the small green hand that had reached out to him. It was a moment of trust, courage, and kindness, a moment that had changed everything. And now, looking at Lyra standing confidently beside him, he understood the truth. The galaxy was shaped not only by strength or numbers, but by choices, empathy, and the courage to act when it mattered most. The stars outside shimmered, infinite and eternal. Ethan felt a sense of peace, tempered with determination. Humanity had proven its worth, and he had played a part. Lyra had survived, grown, and become a leader. Together they had built something lasting, a partnership, a coalition, and a foundation for the future. The galaxy awaited, full of unknowns and possibilities. And as Ethan looked at Lyra, he felt certain that whatever came next, they would face it together. Not just as humans and aliens, but as allies, friends, and survivors who had learned the power of trust, courage, and the smallest acts of kindness. Ethan allowed himself a quiet smile. The stars stretched endlessly, and the future shimmered with opportunity. And for the first time in years, he knew that a single choice, made in fear, hope, and courage, had created ripples across the galaxy that could never be undone. He tightened his grip on the pendant around his neck, feeling the connection between past and present. And with Lyra by his side, he stepped forward into the vastness of space, ready to meet whatever challenges awaited. The galaxy was theirs to protect, to shape, and to explore. And in that moment, Ethan understood the true meaning of heroism, not the battles won, but the lives saved, the choices made, and the courage to act when it mattered most. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of danger, but also full of hope. And together, Ethan and Lyra were ready to meet it all.